Captain Ji-won stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon's Dawn as the massive space station came into view. The structure was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It stretched across space like a metal city with thousands of lights blinking on its surface. 3 years had passed since first contact with the Galactic Council, and today was the day humanity would finally join the galaxy as equals. "Distance to Station, Mina?" Ji-won asked his science officer. Chief Science Officer Mina checked her screens. 200,000 kilometers in closing, Captain. The station is even larger than our estimates suggested. Ji-won nodded and looked around the bridge at his crew. They had been chosen as Earth's best and brightest for this historic mission. Security Chief Dong-soo stood ready at his post, while Communications Officer Hana monitored all frequencies. In the cargo holds below them sat humanity's greatest achievements, waiting to be shared with their new galactic neighbors. The fusion reactors they had developed could power entire worlds without pollution. Their medical nanobots could heal diseases that had plagued other species for centuries. The terraforming technology could turn dead rocks into garden worlds in just decades. These gifts would show the galaxy that humans deserved their place among the stars. "Incoming transmission from the station," Hana announced. "Put it through," Ji-won ordered. A hologram appeared showing a tall figure with gray skin and 4 arms. The being wore elaborate robes that marked him as someone important in the council hierarchy. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 17. Prepare for immediate boarding and inspection." The transmission ended before Ji-won could respond. He frowned at the cold tone but pushed his concerns aside. Different species probably had different ways of being polite. "Take us in, Pilot Sunho," Ji-won commanded. As they approached the docking bay, Ji-won could see hundreds of ships from different species. Some looked like living creatures with flowing organic curves, while others were geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. The diversity was amazing but also intimidating. The Horizon's Dawn settled into the docking bay with a gentle thud. Through the viewports, they could see alien beings in environmental suits waiting for them. Most carried what looked like weapons. "That's a lot of security for a diplomatic meeting," Dong-soo observed quietly. "Maybe they're just being careful," Ji-won replied, but his hand moved unconsciously to his sidearm. The airlock cycled and the delegation prepared to disembark. Ambassador Kyung led the group with his years of diplomatic experience. Behind him came Dr. Hanul carrying samples of their medical technology and Engineer Yuna with blueprints for their fusion reactors. Ji-won brought up the rear with Dong-soo and 2 security officers. The station's corridors were enormous and filled with beings from dozens of different species. Some walked on legs while others floated or slithered. The variety of life was overwhelming. Humans had dreamed of this moment for generations, but something felt wrong about the atmosphere. Their escort, a being that looked like a walking tree, with crystal growths, said nothing as it led them through the maze of passages. Other aliens they passed stopped to stare at the humans with expressions that were hard to read. Some seemed curious, but others looked almost hostile. After what felt like hours of walking, they arrived at a massive chamber. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above, while the floor could have held a small city. Thousands of beings filled. Curved seating that rose in tiers around a central platform. At the highest point sat a figure that radiated authority even from a distance. "Humans of Earth," a voice boomed through the chamber without any visible source. "Approach the Judgment Circle." "Judgment Circle?" Ji-won exchanged glances with Ambassador Kyung. They had been told this was a welcome ceremony. The delegation walked to the center of the chamber where a circle of light appeared around them. The thousands of alien eyes watching them felt heavy and oppressive. This was not the friendly greeting they had expected. The figure at the highest seat stood and spoke. "I am Speaker Varix of the Galactic Council. You have been summoned to answer for your species' crimes and to accept the consequences of your actions." Ambassador Kyung stepped forward with practiced diplomacy. "Honored Speaker, there must be some mistake. We come bearing gifts and seeking friendship with the galactic community. What crimes could humanity have committed? We have only just learned we are not alone in the universe." Harsh laughter echoed through the chamber from dozens of species. Speaker Varix raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "Your crime is existence without permission. Your crime is developing technology without guidance. Your crime is spreading across your star system without authorization from the rightful rulers of this galaxy." The words hit like physical blows. Dr. Hanul gripped her medical samples tighter, while Engineer Yuna's face went pale. This was not what any of them had prepared for. "The Galactic Council has ruled for 10,000 years," Speaker Varix continued. "We maintain order and peace through proper hierarchy and control. Species that develop independently threaten this order and must be brought into compliance." Compliance? Ambassador Kyung's diplomatic training kept his voice steady, but Ji-won could see the shock in his eyes. "You have two choices, humans of Earth. Submit to Council authority and accept your place as a managed species or face complete annihilation. Your worlds will be redistributed to more deserving peoples, and your technology will be properly controlled by those wise enough to use it." The chamber fell silent except for the breathing of 1,000 different species. Ji-won felt his heart pounding as the implications sank in. They had not been invited to join the galaxy as equals. They had been summoned to surrender. "What does managed species mean exactly?" Ambassador Kyung asked. Another council member, this one looking like a giant insect, clicked its mandibles as it spoke. 70% of your industrial output will be transferred to council control. Your population will be relocated to designated worlds where you can be properly supervised. Genetic monitoring will ensure you do not evolve beyond acceptable parameters." "And our colonies?" Dr. Hanul asked quietly. "Will be evacuated. The fertile worlds your species has claimed will be given to peoples who have earned the right to them through proper service to the Council." Ji-won watched as his crew struggled to process what they were hearing. Humanity's greatest achievement, reaching for the stars and building new worlds, was being taken away by beings who saw them as nothing more than clever animals that needed to be caged. Speaker Varix's voice cut through their shock. "You have one rotation to consider our generous offer. Return to your ship and discuss among yourselves, but understand that this is not a negotiation. Accept our terms or watch your species burn." The circle of light around them disappeared, and their tree-like escort gestured for them to follow. The walk back to their ship passed in stunned silence. Other aliens they encountered now made more sense. The stares were not curious but measuring, like predators evaluating prey. Back aboard the Horizon's Dawn, the delegation gathered in the conference room. The gifts they had brought to share with their new galactic neighbors now seemed pathetic and naive. "They never intended to treat us as equals," Ambassador Kyung said finally. "This whole invitation was a trap to get us here voluntarily." "Can we fight them?" Dongsu asked. Dr. Hanul shook her head. "Did you see the size of this station? The number of species under their control? Earth has a few dozen ships. They have thousands of worlds." Ji-won had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke up. "Hana, are our communications being monitored? I'm detecting several scanning beams, but I can mask a tight beam transmission back to Earth if we're careful. Do it. Send everything we've recorded to Admiral Tae-hyun with emergency priority." "Captain," Ambassador Kyung said carefully, "we should consider their offer seriously. If we refuse, they will destroy Earth. And if we accept, they'll destroy us slowly instead of quickly." Ji-won's voice was hard. "Either way, Earth needs to know what we're really dealing with out here." As Hana worked to prepare the transmission, Ji-won stared out at the massive stations surrounding them. Somewhere in that metal maze, beings from 1,000 worlds had decided that humanity's only choices were slavery or death. They thought humans were primitive and helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The transmission beam lanced out through space, carrying the truth back to Earth. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it with their eyes open. The Galactic Council had made their choice when they decided to treat humans as conquered territory instead of potential allies. Now humans would make theirs. Admiral Tae-hyun stared at the holographic display showing the recorded message from Captain Ji-won. The conference room on Earth's orbital command station had been silent for several minutes as the military leadership absorbed what they had just witnessed. Around the table sat the heads of Earth's military branches, the Science Council, and the colonial governors connected by quantum link. "Play it again," Admiral Tae-hyun ordered quietly. The hologram flickered and Speaker Varix appeared, once more delivering his ultimatum with casual arrogance. 70% of human production transferred to alien control. Forced relocation from their hard-won colonies. genetic monitoring to prevent evolution. The terms were not just harsh, they were designed to slowly strangle humanity over generations. Governor, Su-Young's image spoke from the colony of New Seoul. Admiral, we've been preparing for the possibility of hostile contact since the first alien signals were detected. Our hidden manufacturing facilities can be operational within days. What about the other colonies? Admiral Tae-hyun asked. New Tokyo, New Berlin, and Haven Station all report ready to implement emergency protocols, replied Colonel Minho, head of Colonial Defense. The mining operations on Titan have been modified to produce military-grade materials instead of civilian goods. The Council will see compliance on the surface while we build our real response underground. Dr. Hanul's voice came through the quantum link from the Council station. Admiral, I've gained access to some of their historical databases. What I found changes everything. The scientist's image appeared in the center of the table, transmitted secretly from the alien station where she continued her mission. Dark circles under her eyes showed the stress of maintaining her cover while conducting dangerous research. The Galactic Council has done this before, Dr. Hanul continued. 17 different species over the past 1,000 years. Each one was contacted, given the same choice we were given, and either destroyed or enslaved. The pattern is always identical. She activated a holographic display showing historical records. Images of destroyed worlds and enslaved populations filled the air above the conference table. The scope of the Council's systematic oppression was staggering. The Zalani were spacefaring for 3 centuries before contact. They had colonies on 40 worlds. Now they work in the Council's mines, and their homeworld is a vacation resort for high-ranking officials. Admiral Tae-hyun leaned forward. How do they maintain control over so many species? Fear and isolation, Dr. Hanul replied. They prevent communication between enslaved species and use each one's resources to build weapons that threaten the others. It's a perfect system of mutual destruction that keeps everyone in line. General Wu Jin, head of Earth's Special Projects Division, spoke for the first time. Then we break the system. Dr. Jisoo, what's the status on Project Retribution? Dr. Jisoo's calm voice came through the link from a classified facility hidden in the asteroid belt. We've made significant progress based on the alien technology samples brought back from first contact. The quantum entanglement weapons are ready for field testing. The adaptive AI systems are showing promising results in simulation. What about the biological warfare protocols? Admiral Tae-hyun asked. We've analyzed the genetic samples obtained. During diplomatic meetings, each Council species has unique vulnerabilities we can exploit. The beauty is that the weapons will be completely harmless to humans, but devastating to our targets. Governor Su-Young's expression was grim. Are we really discussing genocide? We're discussing survival, Admiral Tae-hyun replied firmly. They gave us 2 choices, slavery or extinction. We're choosing a third option they didn't consider. Back on the Council station, Captain Ji-won maintained his diplomatic facade while secretly coordinating with Earth's preparations. The Council had given humanity 1 rotation to decide, but they clearly expected immediate surrender. The arrogance was visible in every interaction with Council officials. Ambassador Kyung had requested a meeting with lower-level Council members to discuss terms, which was really an intelligence-gathering mission. The information they collected painted a picture of a civilization that had grown complacent through millennia of unchallenged dominance. Their security is surprisingly weak, Security Chief Dong-soo reported during a private meeting in the ship's shielded conference room. They rely entirely on the assumption that no one would dare challenge them. Their patrols are predictable and their sensor networks have significant blind spots. Engineer Yuna had been studying the station's technical systems. Their technology is advanced but specialized. They've optimized everything for controlling large populations, not for fighting wars. It's like they've forgotten how to actually fight. That makes sense, Dr. Hanul added through encrypted communication. According to the historical records, their last real war was over 500 years ago. Since then, they've only dealt with newly contacted species that had no chance against their accumulated technology. The plan that emerged from these discoveries was audacious in its simplicity. Humanity would appear to comply with Council demands while secretly preparing for war, but this would not be the kind of war the Council expected. Captain Hyunwoo received his orders through classified channels while commanding the patrol ship UES Silent Storm near the edge of human space. His vessel was one of 12 ships that had been secretly modified with experimental technology over the past 3 years. On paper, they were simple patrol craft. In reality, they were the most advanced warships humanity had ever built. Navigation. Set course for the Kepler 442 system, Captain Hyunwoo ordered. It's time to introduce the Council to human ingenuity. The Kepler 442 system housed one of the Council's major mining operations, worked by enslaved members of 3 different species. The facility was defended by automated systems and a small garrison that had never faced a real threat. It would be the perfect target for humanity's first strike. Meanwhile, on Earth, the public announcement came from President Nari standing before the United Nations Assembly. The careful words spoke of difficult negotiations and temporary accommodations with their new galactic neighbors. The population was told that some adjustments to their expansion plans were necessary for peaceful coexistence. Behind the scenes, however, every major industrial facility on Earth had received classified modification orders. Fusion reactors were being converted to power military-grade manufacturing systems. Orbital shipyards that had been building civilian vessels began producing warships from components that had been secretly stockpiled for months. Dr. Jisu's team worked around the clock in their hidden asteroid facility, perfecting weapons that would turn the Council's own advantages against them. The quantum entanglement systems could target enemy vessels across impossible distances, while the adaptive AI learned and evolved with each engagement. The key insight, Dr. Jisu explained to Admiral Taehyun during a secure briefing, is that they fight like a bureaucracy. Everything is planned, organized, and predictable. Our weapons are designed to be chaotic, adaptive, and impossible to counter with standard tactics. The biological warfare components were the most disturbing aspect of the project. Engineer Mina had developed delivery systems that could target specific genetic markers, making it possible to eliminate Council species while leaving enslaved populations unharmed. The weapons were precise, surgical, and completely alien to the Council's understanding of warfare. They expect us to fight like every other species they've encountered, General Wu Jin noted. Stand-up battles between organized fleets following, established rules of engagement. Instead, we're going to fight like humans. 3 days after the ultimatum, Ambassador Kyung stood before the Council Assembly and delivered humanity's official response. His words were carefully chosen to suggest compliance while revealing nothing of Earth's true intentions. The people of Earth recognize the wisdom of the Galactic Council and accept that our species has much to learn from your guidance. We request time to organize the transition and ensure proper cooperation from our colonial populations. Speaker Varix's satisfaction was obvious. Wisdom at last. You have 30 rotations to begin implementation of our requirements. Council representatives will arrive at your worlds to oversee the process. The decision to send Council oversight teams to human worlds was exactly what Earth's planners had hoped for. The alien representatives would find carefully staged compliance, while the real human response remained hidden in the shadows. As the diplomatic session ended, Captain Ji-won received a coded message through quantum channels. Captain Hyunwoo had reached the Kepler 442 system and was in position. The mining facility's defenses had been mapped and its weaknesses identified. The message was simple: ready to show them what humans can do. Admiral Tae-hyun's response was equally brief: execute. Light years away from the Council station, the UES Silent Storm dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. The mining facility hung in space around a dead world, extracting rare metals with enslaved labor, while automated defenses maintained a lazy patrol pattern. Captain Hyunwoo studied the tactical display and smiled grimly. The Council was about to learn that humanity's gift for rapid innovation extended far beyond medical technology and fusion reactors. The UES Silent Storm drifted through the outer edge of the Kepler 442 system, like a ghost in the darkness. Captain Hyunwoo watched the tactical display as his ship approached the Council mining facility without triggering a single sensor alarm. The stealth technology developed from humanity's terraforming research made them invisible to the alien detection systems. Range to target? Captain Hyunwoo asked quietly. 50,000 kilometers and closing, replied Lieutenant Jinsu from the weapons station. All systems show green. The quantum entanglement torpedoes are locked onto their primary fusion reactor. What about the enslaved workers? Sensor analysis shows approximately 3,000 beings in the mining sections. Life support appears to be contained in modules that can be safely separated from the main facility. Captain Hyunwoo nodded. The plan was not just to strike at the Council, but to liberate the species they had enslaved. Every human weapon had been designed with surgical precision to minimize casualties among non-combatants. Engineering, are the transport pods ready? Engineer Daeho's voice came through the comm. Ready for deployment, Captain. Each pod contains medical supplies, food, and translation devices. The enslaved workers will understand they're being rescued, not attacked. The mining facility ahead of them represented everything wrong with the Council's system. Thousands of beings from different species worked in dangerous conditions, extracting materials that would be used to build weapons for their own oppression. The automated defenses were designed to keep workers in rather than enemies out. Captain, Navigation Officer Sunmi reported, "We're receiving a standard challenge from the facility. They want us to identify ourselves and state our business." No response. Captain Hyunwoo ordered. "Maintain stealth approach." The facility's computer systems were primitive compared to human AI technology. They followed rigid programming patterns. The Dr. Jisu's team had easily analyzed and countered. The challenge request repeated several times before the facility's defenses finally began to activate. By then, it was too late. "Fire!" Captain Hyunwoo commanded. The quantum entanglement torpedoes materialized inside the facility's reactor chamber, bypassing all shields and armor. The explosions were precisely calculated to disable power systems without causing catastrophic destruction. Emergency lighting flickered on as the facility went dark. "Transport pods away," Engineer Daeho reported. "Rescue teams are deploying to worker sections." On his screen, Captain Hyunwoo watched as dozens of small pods detached from the silent storm and moved toward the crippled facility. Each pod carried human rescue teams equipped with universal translators and advanced medical equipment. The enslaved workers would be freed and offered transport to neutral space where they could make their own choices. "Council defense platforms are powering up," Lieutenant Jinsu announced. 4 automated weapon platforms moving to intercept. "Show them what adaptive AI can do," Captain Hyunwoo ordered. The Silent Storm's AI swarms launched like a cloud of intelligent metal. Each drone was no larger than a human fist, but contained processing power that could learn and evolve in real time. As the Council platforms opened fire with energy weapons, the swarms analyzed the attack patterns and adapted their movement to avoid the beams. Within minutes, the swarms had learned enough to predict where the weapons would fire next. They swarmed over the platforms like metallic insects, disabling sensors and weapon systems with surgical precision. The platforms fired blindly into empty space, while the swarms systematically destroyed their ability to fight. "All platforms neutralized," Lieutenant Jinsu reported with satisfaction. "No damage to our systems." "Begin Phase 2, Captain Hyunwoo ordered. The real message was not the destruction of one mining facility, but what happened next. As the rescue operation concluded and the freed workers were safely aboard transport vessels, the Silent Storm broadcast a signal on all Council frequencies. The image that appeared showed Captain Hyunwoo standing on his bridge with the disabled facility visible behind him. His words were calm and measured, but carried a weight that cut through space itself. "This message is for the Galactic Council and all species under their control. Humanity rejects your ultimatum and your authority. We will not submit to slavery, and we will not abandon our worlds to your greed." He paused as rescued workers of different species appeared beside him, their faces showing hope for the first time in years. "To the enslaved peoples of the galaxy, know that you are not forgotten. Humanity offers you alliance as equals, not as subjects. To the Council, understand that your reign of terror ends now." The broadcast cut to tactical displays showing the facility's destruction and the liberation of its workers. The message was clear. Human technology was not primitive, and human resolve was unbreakable. Within hours, the broadcast reached Council space and caused panic among the leadership. Speaker Varix called an emergency session as reports flooded in from across their territory. The humans had not simply attacked one facility, but had somehow managed to coordinate simultaneous strikes on 7 different mining operations. Captain Minjin aboard the UES Stormbringer had hit the facilities in the Proxima system, while Captain Yunji in the UES Thunderstrike had liberated workers from the Vega mining complex. Each attack followed the same pattern. stealth approach, surgical strikes, worker liberation, and broadcast of human defiance. The psychological impact was devastating. For 1,000 years, the Council had maintained control through the belief that resistance was impossible. The sight of their facilities burning while enslaved workers celebrated their freedom shattered that illusion across dozens of worlds. On the Council station where Captain Jiwon maintained his diplomatic cover, the panic was visible in every interaction. Council officials who had been arrogant and dismissive now looked nervous and uncertain. Emergency meetings were called while security forces scrambled to respond to threats they did not understand. "How did they penetrate our defenses?" demanded Council Member Thorix, the insect-like being who had outlined humanity's slavery terms. "Our sensor networks detected nothing until the attacks were already underway." Speaker Varix's 4 arms gestured angrily as he studied tactical reports. "Their technology should not be capable of this level of sophistication. Our intelligence indicated they were decades behind our capabilities." "Perhaps our intelligence was wrong," suggested Council Member Zerak, whose crystalline form reflected the chamber's emergency lighting. "Perhaps we underestimated their development." The debate continued for hours while more reports arrived. Human ships appeared throughout Council space, striking carefully selected targets and disappearing before reinforcements could respond. The attacks followed no predictable pattern and seemed to anticipate Council countermeasures before they were even deployed. What the Council did not realize was that Dr. Hanul continued to feed intelligence to the human fleet from her position aboard their station. Her access to Council databases provided real-time information about troop movements, defense plans, and target priorities. "They're mobilizing the 3rd Defense Fleet," Dr. Hanul reported through encrypted channels. "Destination appears to be the Kepler system where Captain Hyunwoo made his first strike." Admiral Taehyun received the intelligence at Earth's command center and immediately relayed new orders to the human fleet. "All ships, avoid the Kepler system. Let them chase shadows while we hit their real vulnerabilities." The strategy was pure, human innovation applied to galactic warfare. Instead of fighting the enemy's strength, they attacked the Council's weaknesses. Supply lines were severed, communication networks were disrupted, and administrative centers were captured. Each victory was small, but the cumulative effect was enormous. Engineer Yuna's mobile shipyards proved crucial to the campaign's success. Hidden in asteroid fields and dead systems, these facilities could repair and upgrade human vessels without requiring them to return to Earth. The Council's traditional strategy of cutting enemy supply lines became useless against an enemy that carried their infrastructure with them. "Ship production is ahead of schedule," Engineer Yuna reported from her facility in the asteroid belt. "We're launching 2 new vessels every week and upgrading existing ships with enhanced weaponry." The enhanced weaponry was based on captured Council technology, improved through human engineering principles. Where the Council had built weapons for intimidation and control, humans optimized them for efficiency and effectiveness. A Council energy cannon that required massive power systems and complex cooling was redesigned to be twice as powerful while using half the energy. "The key insight," Dr. Jisoo explained during a strategy briefing, "is that they built their technology to impress, not to win wars. Everything is over-engineered and inefficient because they never expected to face real opposition." The pattern became clear as more Council facilities fell to human attacks. Their defenses were designed to prevent escape, not to repel invasion. Their weapons were built for mass destruction rather than precision strikes. Their ships prioritized appearance and intimidation over speed and maneuverability. Most importantly, their command structure was rigid and hierarchical in a way that made them predictable. Council commanders followed established protocols even when those protocols were clearly failing. The Council's Grand Assembly had never seen such chaos in its 1,000-year history. Speaker Varix stood before representatives from over 200 species while emergency reports flooded in from across their territory. The holographic displays showed red warning indicators on dozens of worlds as human attacks continued to spread like wildfire through Council space. "The humans have somehow coordinated simultaneous strikes on 47 facilities," reported General Kradix, the Council's supreme military commander. His 6-legged form trembled with barely controlled rage. "Our losses include 12 major mining operations, 8 manufacturing centers, and 3 primary communication hubs. Councilmember Thorix's mandibles clicked nervously as he processed the tactical data. How is this possible? Their entire species has been spacefaring for less than a century. They should not possess the resources for such a campaign. Perhaps that is precisely why they are succeeding, suggested Councilmember Zarak. Her crystalline form resonated with harmonic frequencies that indicated deep concern. We have spent so long fighting primitive species that we have forgotten how to face truly dangerous opponents. Speaker Varix's four arms gestured angrily at the displays. Dangerous? They are insects compared to our accumulated might. We control the resources of 200 worlds and command fleets that have dominated the galaxy for millennia. Then why are our fleets being defeated by their handful of ships? Zarak asked quietly. The question hung in the air like a physical weight. Every council leader had seen the battle recordings transmitted by their own sensors before the facilities were destroyed. Human vessels appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision, and vanished before reinforcements could respond. Their technology seemed to adapt and evolve during combat in ways that violated every principle of warfare the Council understood. Their weapons learn, General Kratix admitted reluctantly. Our tactical analysis shows that each human attack is more effective than the last. They are somehow improving their capabilities in real time. Dr. Hanul continued her dangerous intelligence gathering from within the council station while maintaining her cover as a terrified human scientist. The internal debates she witnessed revealed the depth of panic spreading through the council leadership. These beings had ruled through fear and overwhelming force for so long that they had no experience dealing with an enemy that fought back effectively. They are requesting emergency reinforcements from the outer territories, Dr. Hanul reported through encrypted channels to Admiral Taehyun. Speaker Varix has authorized the recall of the 1st, 2nd, and 4th battle fleets for a direct assault on Earth. Admiral Taehyun received the intelligence while standing in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. The chamber had been carved from solid rock and shielded against every form of detection humanity could imagine. Around him, the greatest military minds of his species worked to coordinate the most audacious defense in human history. How many ships total? Admiral Taehyun asked. Intelligence estimates over 3,000 capital ships plus support vessels, replied General Wu Jin. It will be the largest fleet assembled in Council history. Good, Admiral Taehyun said with grim satisfaction. The more ships they bring, the more complete their defeat will be. The preparations that had been ongoing for months now entered their final phase. Project Omega represented the culmination of human ingenuity applied to the problem of defending their homeworld against overwhelming odds. Every human colony, every hidden facility, and every secret research station had contributed to creating the most sophisticated killing field the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Jisoo worked around the clock from her asteroid laboratory, putting the finishing touches on weapons systems that existed only in human imagination. The quantum entanglement network now covered the entire solar system with nodes hidden in every major asteroid, moon, and orbital platform. When activated, it would turn space itself into a weapon. The gravitational manipulation devices are online, Dr. Jisoo reported during a secure briefing. We can create artificial gravity wells anywhere within 1,000,000 kilometers of Earth. Enemy ships will find their formations disrupted and their escape routes blocked. Engineer Yuna's mobile shipyards had been working at maximum capacity, producing not just warships, but automated defense platforms that could be deployed throughout the solar system. Each platform was designed to look like space debris until activated, then transform into a deadly weapons system guided by adaptive AI. We have over 10,000 platforms ready for deployment, Engineer Yuna announced. They can be positioned along the most likely approach vectors and activated remotely when the Council fleet arrives. The most ambitious aspect of Project Omega was the conversion of Jupiter's moons into massive railgun installations. The orbital mechanics required precise calculation, and the engineering challenges were staggering, but human determination had overcome every obstacle. Ganymede Station reports ready for combat operations, announced Colonel Minho. The main railgun can accelerate projectiles to 15% of light speed with pinpoint accuracy at ranges up to 10 million kilometers. Similar installations on Europa, Io, and Callisto created overlapping fields of fire that could target enemy vessels throughout the outer solar system. The projectiles themselves were not simple metal slugs, but sophisticated munitions that could adjust their trajectory, mid-flight, and deploy multiple warheads. Captain Jiwan maintained his diplomatic facade aboard the Council station while secretly coordinating with the human fleet. The Council's preparation for their grand assault was proceeding with typical arrogance and predictability. They were so focused on overwhelming force that they ignored the possibility of sophisticated resistance. They planned to approach in 3 massive formations, Captain Jiwan reported through encrypted channels. The first wave will be heavy assault ships designed to break through planetary defenses. The second wave carries troop transports for planetary invasion. The third wave includes command ships and support vessels. Perfect, Admiral Taehyun replied. They are organizing themselves exactly as we hoped they would. The Council's strategy was based on their successful conquest of dozens of other worlds over the centuries. Overwhelming firepower would destroy orbital defenses, followed by massive troop landings to secure the planet. It had worked against every species they had encountered because those species had fought conventionally. Humans, however, had never been accused of fighting conventionally. The psychological warfare campaign continued to spread chaos throughout Council territory as news of human victories reached enslaved populations. On Vega Prime, the Zalani workers had seized control of 3 mining facilities and declared independence. On Arcturus Station, the Korth rebels had captured a Council weapons depot and were distributing arms to other enslaved species. The rebellion is spreading faster than we anticipated, Governor Suyung reported from New Seoul. 18 different species have declared independence and are requesting human support. The Council's control is collapsing across entire sectors. But it was the development of human biological warfare that truly terrified the Council leadership. Commander Minsu had led a daring raid on the Council's primary research facility, not just to steal their technology, but to obtain detailed biological samples from every Council species. The virus development is proceeding ahead of schedule, Dr. Hayon announced from her hidden laboratory. We have identified specific genetic markers for each Council species that will allow us to target them individually while leaving enslaved populations completely unharmed. The virus was not designed to kill, but to disrupt the neurological processes that allowed Council species to maintain their rigid hierarchical thinking. When deployed, it would cause confusion, paranoia, and inability to follow complex orders. The Council's greatest strength, their organized unity, would become their greatest weakness. Field testing shows 99% effectiveness, Dr. Hayon continued. The virus spreads through atmospheric contact and remains active for several standard days. Recovery is complete, but temporary immunity prevents reinfection. General Wu Jin studied the tactical implications with professional interest. So we can effectively disable their command structure without permanent harm to the individuals involved. Exactly. It fits our strategic goal of breaking their power without becoming the monsters they think we are. The virus had already been deployed on several Council worlds through seemingly innocent trade contacts. Human merchants carrying standard item goods had unknowingly spread the biological agent through major population centers. By the time the Council fleet reached Earth, their home territories would be in complete chaos. Speaker Varix remained unaware of the biological warfare campaign, as he prepared for what he believed would be humanity's final defeat. The Grand Assembly had voted unanimously to authorize the complete destruction of Earth and the extermination of human colonies throughout space. The humans will serve as an example to any species that dares challenge Council authority, Speaker Varix declared to the assembled representatives. Their homeworld will burn, and their colonies will be redistributed to more deserving peoples. The vote was ceremonial, since Speaker Varix had already committed the Council's entire military to the assault. The Council's grand fleet stretched across space like a dark metal cloud as 3,000 capital ships approached Earth's solar system in perfect formation. Speaker Varix stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Dominion, savoring what he believed would be humanity's final moments of existence. The blue world ahead looked defenseless and primitive, exactly as his intelligence reports had predicted. "All fleets report ready for assault," announced Fleet Commander Vorthak through the communication grid. "The first wave will eliminate orbital defenses while the second wave prepares for planetary bombardment." "Excellent," Speaker Varix replied, his 4 arms gesturing confidently at the tactical displays. "Today we remind the galaxy why the Council has ruled for 1,000 years. What Speaker Varix could not see were the thousands of hidden defense platforms scattered throughout the asteroid belt, the massive railgun installations concealed on Jupiter's moons, or the quantum entanglement network that had turned the entire solar system into a single coordinated weapon. To his sensors, space appeared empty, except for a few mining stations and orbital facilities. Admiral Tae-hyun monitored the approaching fleet from his command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, the greatest minds of humanity worked, in calm coordination to orchestrate the most ambitious defense in their species' history. Every ship movement and energy signature was tracked with precision that would have impressed the Council if they had understood what was happening. Enemy. Fleet has crossed the outer perimeter, reported Colonel Minho from the Jupiter stations. All railgun platforms report target lock on the command ships. Hold position, Admiral Tae-hyun ordered calmly. Let them come deeper into the trap. Captain Ji-won continued to transmit intelligence from the Council flagship where he maintained his cover as a diplomatic observer. The confidence and arrogance displayed by the Council leadership was exactly what human planners had hoped to see. Speaker Varix is positioning his command ships in the center of the formation, Captain Ji-won reported through encrypted channels. They believe their shields and armor make them invulnerable to primitive human weapons. They're about to learn otherwise, Admiral Tae-hyun replied grimly. The Council fleet advanced through the outer solar system with typical arrogance, their sensors detecting nothing more threatening than scattered asteroids and abandoned mining equipment. Their formation was perfect for intimidation but terrible for defense against the kind of weapons humanity had prepared. First wave reaching Mars orbit, announced Fleet Commander Vorthak. No significant resistance detected. The humans appear to have abandoned their outer defenses. Speaker Varix nodded with satisfaction. Fear has overcome their foolish defiance. Perhaps some will survive to serve as examples when we redistribute their worlds to more deserving species. At that moment, Admiral Tae-hyun gave the order that changed galactic history forever. All stations, execute Protocol Omega. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The transformation was instantaneous and devastating. Thousands of asteroids throughout the belt suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed defense platforms, their weapons charging with energy signatures that blazed across Council sensors. Jupiter's moons dropped their disguises and emerged as massive fortress installations with railguns that could accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. "What is this?" Speaker Varix demanded, as his tactical displays exploded with warning signals. "Where did these installations come from?" Before anyone could answer, the first salvo struck the Council fleet with precision that defied belief. Railgun. Projectiles traveling at 15% of light speed punched through the heaviest armor like paper, while quantum entanglement torpedoes materialized inside enemy ships without warning. The lead formation of Council dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist in explosions that lit up space like miniature stars. "Impossible!" Fleet Commander Vorthak screamed through the communication network. "Their weapons are penetrating our shields without any energy discharge." The quantum entanglement network had turned the basic laws of physics into humanity's greatest weapon. While Council shields could deflect energy beams and particle weapons, they were useless against munitions that simply appeared inside their target without crossing the intervening space. Captain Hyun-woo commanded the human fleet from his flagship UES Retribution as it emerged from behind Mercury's shadow. The stealth technology that had allowed human ships to strike throughout Council space now revealed its true purpose as over 500 vessels appeared simultaneously throughout the solar system. "All ships, engage designated targets," Captain Hyun-woo ordered. "Remember, we're fighting for every enslaved species in the galaxy." The human fleet moved with coordination that seemed impossible for such a small force. Each ship knew exactly where to be and when to strike for maximum effect. The adaptive AI systems had analyzed every aspect of Council tactics and developed counters that turned their own strengths against them. "Their ships are moving unpredictably," reported Council Tactical Officer Zerix. "Our targeting computers cannot establish firing solutions." "Then target manually," Speaker Varix roared, but his anger could not overcome the reality of the situation. The Council fleet had been designed for overwhelming force against fixed targets, not for the kind of dynamic combat humanity had unleashed. Their massive ships were too slow to track human vessels that appeared, struck, and vanished like ghosts. Their weapons were too powerful and too slow to hit targets that moved with organic unpredictability. Dr. Jisu's biological warfare virus chose that moment to activate throughout Council space. On their home worlds, millions of beings suddenly found themselves unable to follow complex orders or maintain hierarchical thinking. Command structures collapsed as panic spread through populations that had never experienced such neurological disruption. "We're receiving emergency transmissions from Vega Prime," announced Communications Officer Thorix. "The population appears to be in complete chaos. Government facilities have been abandoned and industrial production has stopped." Similar reports flooded in from dozens of Council worlds as the virus spread through their civilization like wildfire. The rigid order that had maintained their empire for 1,000 years crumbled in a matter of hours. "How is this happening?" Speaker Varix demanded, but his own thought processes were beginning to show the effects of the biological agent that Dr. Hannell had secretly released aboard the flagship. The battle for Earth became a slaughter, as human weapons systematically dismantled the Council fleet. The railgun installations on Jupiter's moons fired continuously, their projectiles striking with such force that entire ships were vaporized on impact. The quantum entanglement torpedoes appeared inside enemy vessels faster than their crews could react. Most devastating of all were the gravitational manipulation devices that Dr. Jisu had perfected during months of secret research. Artificial gravity wells appeared throughout the Council formation, disrupting their carefully planned attack vectors and pulling ships into collision courses with each other. "Fleet cohesion is breaking down," reported Fleet Commander Vorthak, his voice edged with panic. "Ships are reporting navigation failures and weapon malfunctions. We need to retreat and regroup." "No retreat," Speaker Varix screamed, but his words carried less authority as the biological virus continued to affect his judgment. "We will not be defeated by primitives." But defeat was already inevitable. The Council fleet, designed to intimidate and overwhelm, had no answer for weapons that violated their understanding of physics and tactics that changed faster than they could adapt. Human ships swarmed through their formations like predators among prey, striking vital systems and disappearing before retaliation was possible. Captain Jiwon watched the destruction from the bridge of the Eternal Dominion as explosions lit up space around them. The flagship's shields were failing under constant bombardment from weapons that seemed to appear from nowhere. "Captain," Security Chief Dong-Su whispered urgently, "we need to reach the escape pods." "Not yet," Captain Jiwon replied quietly. "There's still work to do." As Speaker Varix struggled with the neurological effects of the virus, Captain Jiwon activated a hidden transmitter that had been concealed in his diplomatic equipment. The signal went out on all Council frequencies, carrying a message that would be heard throughout their crumbling empire. "People of the galaxy," Captain Jiwon's voice echoed across space, "the Council's reign of terror ends today. Humanity offers alliance to all species as equals, not as subjects. The age of slavery is over." The transmission included detailed coordinates for human rescue fleets that were already moving to liberate enslaved populations throughout Council space. Ships commanded by officers like Captain Minjin and Captain Yunji were spreading across the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as liberators. "Our ships are being destroyed faster than we can count them," Fleet Commander Vorthak reported, his voice breaking with despair. "The humans have weapons we cannot understand or counter." Speaker Varix tried to maintain his authority, but the biological virus had stripped away his ability to think hierarchically. The rigid mental patterns that had made him an effective Council leader now worked against him as his brain struggled to process the chaos around him.